Welcome back. We're diving deep into Simone's life story today, based on that YouTube interview you were curious about.
Yeah, Simone's story.
Getting to hear someone tell their own story like that, it's pretty amazing.
It is. It's really insightful to hear his perspective
Isn't it?
directly.
You get such an intimate look into their world. You'll hear about his childhood passions, some really significant life events, and how he approaches goals. There's a lot to uncover.
I think one of the most fascinating things is that we get to understand the events that shaped his values and motivations without any outside interpretation.
Yeah.
Just directly from him.
Exactly. It's unfiltered.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Okay, so he starts off talking about his childhood. And it sounds like he was quite a handful. He was full of energy.
Oh, yeah.
He even tells this story about how he was climbing furniture and managed to break a whole set of dishes while his mom was at the door.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
I can only imagine what his mom...
Like, Simone,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah, he said...
Sounds like he had boundless energy even as a little kid.
And that energy seems to carry through his whole life, especially when you consider his passion for motorbikes and motorsports.
It's true. It's almost like foreshadowing, isn't it?
It is. There's definitely a connection there.
Yeah. And there's also this interesting contrast he brings up between his city life in Rovereto
Yeah.
and his connection to Val di Rabai, this peaceful mountain valley.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
So he seems drawn to both the excitement of the city and the serenity of the mountains.
That duality is so fascinating. The contrast between those environments, it makes you wonder how those opposing forces shaped his worldview.
Absolutely. And then he talks a lot about his family. He seems to have a very close relationship with his parents, and he credits them with fostering a healthy upbringing. He specifically mentions how much he appreciates their balanced approach to rules,
That's so important, having that kind of foundation.
especially compared to some of his friends who had stricter parents.
Right. It sounds like his parents really fostered an environment of open communication and shared experiences.
Exactly. And that can have such a profound impact on a child's sense of self and their ability to form healthy relationships.
Absolutely. And then Simone shares about a very difficult period in his life. Right before his 12th birthday, his cousin tragically passed away in a car accident.
It's heartbreaking
It is, especially at such a young age.
to experience that so young.
Yeah. You can really hear the impact it had on him, how it forced him to confront the fragility of life so early on.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Definitely. It makes you reevaluate what's truly important.
He talks about how it made him appreciate simple things more, embrace living joyfully, and really make the most of each day.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes it takes facing a profound loss to truly understand what matters most.
You know what I mean?
I do.
And then let's move on to his school years. It sounds like he had a rather strategic approach to academics. He admits to putting in the bare minimum effort for subjects he wasn't interested in,
Oh, really?
focusing his energy on what truly sparked his passion.
It's interesting that he noted a difference between his time in private and public school. He felt the social dynamics were quite different. He saw a wider range of personalities and behaviors in public school.
He did. He did.
It makes you wonder how those different settings influenced his social development.
Yeah, for sure. He was clearly very bright, though. And talk about driven. He negotiated his way into getting his first motorbike
Oh, wow.
by promising his parents he'd improve his grades.
That's impressive. He set a goal and achieved it.
Yeah, even if the initial motivation wasn't purely academic.
Right. It shows a real sense of determination. And you can hear the pride in his voice when he talks about earning that bike.
Absolutely. And speaking of determination, Simone actually conducted a social experiment on himself,
What?
inspired by something he saw on social media.
Oh, really?
He decided to disappear from his social circles for 2 months,
Wow.
just to see what would happen.
That's pretty bold, especially for someone in their teens.
It is. It really is. It highlights a desire to understand not just the world around him, but also his place within it. What's striking is that he was surprised by the lack of concern from his friends.
That's interesting. It makes you think about the nature of social connections, especially in adolescence.
Yeah, it was a valuable lesson upon self-reliance.
Absolutely. Sometimes you have to rely on yourself.
And that's when he really started to delve into self-improvement.
He did.
He discovered all these online resources, got back into reading, and just really seemed to embrace learning for its own sake.
It's like he shifted from seeking external validation to cultivating a strong sense of self from the inside out. That period of self-discovery seems to have been a turning point in his journey.
It does. He was no longer passively consuming information, but actively seeking knowledge and experiences that would help him grow.
Exactly. He was taking control of his own personal developer.
It's inspiring to hear how he took control of his own personal development. And all that self-directed learning eventually led him to seek guidance from a mentor.
Yeah, that's interesting. He recognized that he could learn from someone with more experience.
Exactly. And he mentions being initially skeptical of his mentor's direct style.
I can see that.
Uh,
Not everyone's comfortable with that kind of blunt feedback.
Oh, totally. But Simone recognized that his mentor wasn't just offering tactics. He was pushing him to think critically and develop a deeper understanding of business principles.
It's a good reminder that the most effective mentors challenge your assumptions and push you outside your comfort zone.
Right. It's about growth. It sounds like Simone was open to that kind of feedback, even if it wasn't always easy to hear.
Exactly. And that brings us to his approach to goal setting. He's incredibly organized and methodical about it.
He is. He uses Notion to break down his aspirations into yearly, monthly, and weekly targets. He even has this checkbox method to hold himself accountable for completing each task.
The visual aspect of that system is so important. It helps with organization and provides a sense of progress. Each checked box represents a step forward.
Like a visual representation of his commitment to achieving those goals.
Exactly. And speaking of commitment, let's talk about Simone's daily routine. He's definitely a morning person.
He is. He prefers to tackle challenging tasks when his energy is high.
It makes sense. There's a lot to be said for understanding your own energy rhythms and working with them.
Right. He saves his evenings for personal growth activities, like reading and learning.
It sounds like a balanced approach. He's making time for both work and personal development.
He also mentions that he's flexible and adapts his routine based on location and commitments. He even talks about how his views on breakfast have evolved over time.
That's important. Even the most structured routines need to be adaptable. Life is unpredictable.
Now, this is something I think a lot of people can relate to. Simone admits to struggling with saying no, especially to friends.
Oh, yeah. That's a common struggle. We want to be there for our friends, but sometimes that comes at the expense of our own well-being.
It's about finding that balance. He talks about how it conflicted with his focus on personal goals.
It's tough. You don't want to disappoint anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He even tells this funny anecdote about being called out to play by friends while having dinner with his family. It highlights the pull of social expectations and how difficult it can be to set boundaries.
It's a great example of the internal conflict we face when trying to prioritize our own needs.
And Simone's journey shows it's an ongoing process of learning to say no gracefully but firmly, even when it means disappointing others.
It's about recognizing that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for self-care and achieving your goals.
So true. And now let's shift gears and talk about relationships. Simone opens up about a significant 2-year relationship that blossomed unexpectedly through social media.
It's amazing how connections can form in the most unexpected ways.
Right. It sounds like it was a powerful experience for him, offering valuable lessons about love, compromise, and the challenges of balancing personal growth with the needs of a partner.
It's a delicate balance, for sure.
Unfortunately, the relationship ultimately ended due to infidelity.
That's so tough to deal with.
It is. But even in that situation, Simone demonstrated remarkable maturity. He talks about offering support to his ex-girlfriend, despite the pain she caused him.
That's impressive. It shows a lot of emotional intelligence and empathy.
It really does.
Yeah.
It sounds like he took the high road in a difficult situation.
He did. It's inspiring to see that level of emotional maturity.
Yeah.
It really does make you think. What stood out to you most from his story?
I think for me, it was his unwavering commitment to personal growth. It's like a constant thread throughout his story. He's always seeking knowledge, challenging himself, evolving as a person.
He doesn't let setbacks stop him.
He doesn't. He sees every experience, whether positive or negative, as an opportunity for learning and growth.
It's a great mindset to have. And speaking of growth, let's talk about Simone's vision for the future. He has some clear goals.
Oh, he does. He paints a vivid picture of where he sees himself in 10 years. He wants to build and manage his own successful business and have a family.
It's clear that he values both professional success and personal fulfillment.
He does. He wants a well-rounded life. And he doesn't just want to achieve success for himself. He talks about wanting to establish his own nonprofit.
That's admirable. It shows a desire to give back.
It does. He was inspired by other entrepreneurs who use their platform to make a difference.
He wants to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. And his experience volunteering in Brazil really opened his eyes to the immense need that exists globally.
It sounds like a pivotal experience for him.
It was. He realized that having significant resources could allow him to make a greater impact.
It makes sense. He wants to be able to make a real difference.
But he also acknowledges that You don't have to be wealthy to make a difference. There are other paths like volunteering or working directly with communities.
It's about finding what resonates with you personally and contributing in a way that feels meaningful.
Exactly. It's about finding your own way to give back.
Right. Everyone can make a difference in their own way.
Simone's story is a powerful reminder that even though life can be challenging, it's often those very challenges that lead us to the most significant growth and self-discovery.
They shape who we become.
They do. What resonated with you most from his story? And how can you apply his experiences to your own life?
There's always something we can learn from others' experiences. Maybe there's a passion you've been putting off, a fear you need to face, or a limiting belief that's holding you back.
Simone's journey encourages us to step outside of our comfort zones, prioritize personal growth, and strive for a life that aligns with our values. What an incredible deep dive into Simone's story. His journey is a testament to the power of resilience, self-awareness, and a commitment to lifelong learning.
It's inspiring to hear about his journey.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.